I can only speak from growing up, man. I'm born in 1973, right on 916 East 11th Street, right next door to the African American Culture Center.
Yeah.
That's where I was born and raised. So I grew up seeing prostitutes right across the street from my house. You know what I'm saying? And this was prevalent, what you could call, you could say an epidemic. So I mean, growing up, I could sit on my porch or play in my front yard, and prostitutes would be on, right in front of my house. So it wasn't nothing for me to see pimps and hoes, throughout my life, coming home from school in the first grade from Black Street.
Right.
I'm coming down 11th Street. This was a known track of what they call the Blade or the Host Road now. They call it the Blade. That's what 11th Street historically was. All throughout the, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, up until about 1988 is when you started seeing that begin to fade. And the reason that began to fade is because crack came. Then there were different sting operations that happened. But prostitution was really prevalent on 11th Street, and 12th Street was known more so for your drugs. So it wasn't about you being a player on 12th Street. It was all about going to school. And, it was clubs on both, so they looked similar. Growing up in the 70s and the 80s, I mean, when my mother moved here from Texarkana in the 60s, East Austin was nice. I mean, I can't always say that it had a negative past, because it didn't. You know what I'm saying? I mean, a lot of those black businesses and things like that were from African Americans, but I mean, as with most things, and the influence that comes in the 60s and the 70s is when, basically it began to decline. Yeah. And so it became a little bit more notorious. But yeah, 11th Street was known for having pimps, players, and prostitutes, and 12th Street was known for having your drug dealers. And I mean, there have been some shootouts that have happened on 11th Street behind the game that's known in history, that you got to talk to some of the elders about. Drive-by shootings among pimps and dope dealers right on 12th Street.
So, were initially the pimps and dope dealers, were they against each other?
No, I mean, the game ain't never hated on one another, because everybody really aspired to be like the pimp. Even today with the slab culture, you know what I'm saying, youngsters don't realize that your car with the swingers and the fifth wheel, you imitating the pimping. The pimping inspired the slab, you know what I'm saying, because the pimp was the first ones to shine that had anything to fly. Then the dope dealer, he's the one that just followed suit. You know what I'm saying? Everybody wanted to emulate and be like the pimp, because you seen, back in that time, man, in the 70s, you had movies like Shaft, Fly, all that kind of stuff come out. But it was always, you know what I'm saying, the pimp had the flyest things that you could imagine. And so that's what guys basically, man, when you see a young brother with a slab, you know what I'm saying, he don't realize that he's imitating the game. He's imitating the pimping, whether he realizes it or not. Because that's really the foundation of having a fly car, something like that to ride in, man. That all started with the shine of the pimps. As far as when the game changed in the 80s, late 80s, when crack came, that introduced a lot of guys to getting some money that really didn't have no business, in it. And so that's why a lot of guys didn't last, and they're not here today, because that was easy. Dope sells itself. That don't require you to have no skill or have no game or nothing like that. But when you're talking about being a pimp, you know what I'm saying, it's different things that you have to know, and it requires some other skills. If you're going to be a con man, that requires some skills. But just selling some dope, I mean, that's easy. So once that all fell apart, a lot of guys in this town were lost. So a lot of these guys are broke, or either they own dope or they're in prison, because they went so many times trying to replicate the former glory or success that they thought they were going to have again. That wasn't going to happen. Even right now, if a guy was to say, I'm going to stand up on the corner today, that's not going to happen.
You can't do it that way.
You know what I'm saying? And that goes for if you're trying to sell some dope, or you're trying to have some hoes. You ain't going to be able to come to Austin and set up no track. You know what I'm saying, and put some holes on the corner. You're not going to be able to do that. That's just not going to happen here, because of the politics of the way the city changed from the 80s throughout the 90s. Yeah, that just ain't gonna happen.
What made you choose that path as opposed to maybe the dope?
Well, I mean, I can say that I've done some of everything.
Okay.
You know, truthfully speaking.
Yeah.
You know, I participated on both sides just because of the nature of where I grew up. I mean, I started out 15, 16, you know, going down on 6th Street. You know, me and my brother, he introduced me to some things. And so back then in the 80s, it was about ecstasy, speed, and these kind of things before brothers even got hip to talking about it. You know what I'm saying? These are some things that...
It was mainly a club thing, right?
Yeah, for party, it was a party thing, you know what I'm saying? They call it the date rape drug or whatever, but I mean, not necessarily.
Yeah.
But back then, you know, brothers wasn't interested in no ecstasy, no acid, no speed, and things like that. But by me being in touch with the inner city, you know, 6th Street and having access to UT campus and those kind of things, I mean, that wasn't nothing for me. So I had exposure to all that. By me growing up on 11th Street, of course, naturally. You know, you had guys that shot pool. I mean, you know, so I learned how to shoot pool. You know, shoot dice, throw the red card, 3-card money. All this type of stuff is what, you know, when you considered yourself a player or a hustler, you had to know how to do more than one thing besides just sell some dope. You know, because like I said before, selling dope ain't game. There ain't no game associated with selling dope unless you selling something that ain't right. You know, if it ain't right, you know, then that's what takes all that game and convincing, because you selling something that don't stand on its own.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But when something stands on its own, it don't need all that other, you know, extra. It don't need it at all. Yeah, so I mean, that's how I started out, man, at, like I said, 15, 16, coming home from school, junior high school, from Keelan, junior high, coming down the back street behind 11. Prostitute told me, she said, well, when you get big, I'm gonna pay you. You know, so I mean, these are the kind of things, like I said, as a 15-year-old, that kind of just blow your mind. You know, and you seeing this kind of activity that most people aren't exposed to at that age.
Because I damn sure wasn't.
So I mean, that's how I was heavily influenced from my environment. But don't get me wrong, I mean, I was born in, I didn't just show up, I growed up. And so my father wasn't no pimp, and my mother wasn't a prostitute. You know what I'm saying? They were working class people, but they can't stop you from being street poisoned or attracted to the lures of what's right outside your front door.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? It just ain't gonna happen. You know. But by my father being, you know, an educated someone who was active in the community, then I stayed in school. And I mean, I loved going to school, actually. You know what I'm saying? I ain't had no problems with going to school. But I mean, I went to school on the west side, and I went to school on the east side.
What school did you go to on the west side?
On the west side, I went to Pease Elementary, man. That was the oldest school in Texas, and still is, and it was one of the first to integrate. And so, you know, kind of going back to that story about me coming home from, you know, in the first grade at Blackshirt and being exposed to, you know, pimps and prostitutes, my mother was like, I don't want my son coming down 11th Street seeing all that. So she said, well, let me put him in extended care where he can stay after school there until we come pick him up. And so after my folks got divorced, after the first grade, it was, you know, my father who raised us. And she put me in school on the west side. So I'm gonna send you to school over here on the west side, you know, where you won't have to come home through 11th Street and see all this. But that's still, you know what I'm saying, wasn't gonna solve the problem.
Like,
you know what I'm saying, because of where I live. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm still in the heart of it. That ain't stopping, you know, pimp from riding across, you know, down the street in front of my house. That ain't stopping a prostitute from walking in front of my house. That ain't stopping the dope addict, you know what I'm saying, from coming, you know, in my yard, or it ain't stopping none of that. So I mean, we were still, you know, heavily exposed and influenced to a life of crime, whether we wanted to or not. You know, I mean, my father never participated. I can't say that he condoned it, but your parents, you know, it's like they softly support you, you know, because you know, no one wants to necessarily see their son or daughter incarcerated. Most parents ain't gonna call the police, you know what I'm saying, and have their you know, son or daughter sent to jail. Most of this ain't gonna do it, whether you can say you for it or against it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So